And welcome back to this special edition of Hannity, Obama's ISIS strategy. In the wake of the deadly terrorist attacks in Paris, the president has been lashing out against Republicans over their concerns that ISIS could infiltrate Syrian refugees who are coming to our country. But according to top U.S. intelligence officials, this is a real concern. Take a look.
Would that bring in Syrian refugees pose a greater risk to Americans?
I mean, it's clearly a population of concern.
The concern is in Syria, the lack of our footprint on the ground in Syria, that the databases won't have the information we need. So it's not that we have a lack of process, it's there's a lack of information.
And that obviously raises grave concern as to being able to do proper background checks of the individuals coming into the country.
Yes.
I don't obviously put it past the likes of ISIL to infiltrate operatives among these refugees.
We can only query against that which we have collected. And so if someone has never made a ripple in the pond in Syria in a way that would get their identity or their interests reflected in our database, we can query our database till the cows come home, but we're not going to, there'll be nothing show up because we have no record on that person.
There is some fear that some of these refugees may actually be posing as refugees, but they might actually be Al-Qaeda or ISIS terrorists trying to sneak into Europe or the United States. What do you make of that?
Well, certainly that's a possibility. I mean, you can't dismiss that out of hand.
We should be conscious of the potential that Daesh may attempt to embed agents within that population.
Here with reaction, Texas Congressman Lamar Smith and Tennessee Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn. Good to see you both.
Yes.
Let's get right into it. You've been busy on the Hill. We have bills on the floor. We have proposals. And now the resettlement issue. First to you ladies first, Congresswoman Blackburn. A realistic approach to this.
A realistic approach is to stop what we're doing at the Office of Refugee Resettlement. Just put a halt to it. Call a timeout. Because not only do they handle resettlement of refugees, they also handle the illegal alien population. And David, as you know, we've got a problem there on the southern border with Texas. We had 8 Syrians that were captured there this week. So let's call a timeout. Let's make certain that we know who is coming in our country. As they said in the tape that you were just playing, they don't know who these individuals are. Many have false documents. We don't have databases in Syria. And when they come to the U.S., you do not know if the person they are going to is who they claim to be or if they're even in the country legally. And then there is no way to track those individuals. So let's call a halt.
All right, Congressman Smith, you are right there on the border. Your state, a border state. We have 5 men arrested in Honduras with stolen and falsified passports from Greece. We have a woman arrested in Costa Rica. We have a porous southern border. This is a security issue. To me, this isn't a right or left issue. This is a security issue. It's not also about compassion. We welcome people every year, 70,000 on average. So what do we do about this at the border states? What can you do in your state?
Right. Well, you're absolutely right to be concerned. Terrorists and others are going to take advantage of the weakest link we have. We do have a porous southern border. Some 300,000 to 400,000 people successfully cross the southern border illegally every year. Among them could be a growing number of terrorists or would-be terrorists or terrorists in training. So that's a clear and present danger to the American people. Now, the House just passed a bill that tried to protect the American people. Our bill said that the FBI director need to certify that a Syrian refugee, for example, was not going to be a threat to the United States. Yet the President of the United States has now threatened that very bill that seeks to protect the security of Americans. It is absolutely astounding that a president would do this. So I hope the president will change his mind. We passed this bill overwhelmingly with bipartisan support. This is a bill designed to protect the American people and make sure that our law enforcement authorities say that a Syrian refugee is not a threat to Americans. Why the president wants to veto that, I have no good reason.
All right, let me go back to the Congresswoman. Congresswoman, okay, and for each of you, we've got about 2 minutes left, so let's put this in the context of you have a veto-proof bill in the House. You've got enough votes with the help of 47 Democrats. You have a challenge in the Senate. Can you get this through the Senate? Will the Democrats filibuster this, you think?
I think the Democrats will try to filibuster it in order to protect the president. What Mitch McConnell ought to do is to just get rid of the 60-vote margin, put this thing on the floor, make these guys in the Senate man up and take the votes that the House members have been taking. We need to know where they stand. Are they standing with protecting the American people, or are they going to protect Barack Obama, who has an ISIS strategy that does not work? And we see that it does not work. I tell you, I really appreciate Chairman Smith and Chairman McCall. Speaker
Congressman
Ryan, for the
Lamar,
good
let
work
me bring you into this. Sorry, but we've only got 30 seconds left. Your final thought on this.
Sure.
We're not against refugees. We want to help people, but do we put a halt on it, and then how do we fix it? Or can we fix it?
Yeah, absolutely. First, absolutely, we have to put a halt to the influx of Syrian refugees. We have to be able to conduct background checks. Our law enforcement says that we cannot. When you hear the president talk about 3-year-old orphans, they're not the terrorists. This president is coming up with a straw man that just trying to change the subject. We have to do a lot more, and in order to do a lot more, we have to stop the resettlement of refugees until we can check their backgrounds and until they can be properly vetted.
Thank you, Congresswoman Marsha Blackburn, Congressman Lamar Smith.